All rise for a pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight. Just as a note, we had an executive session before the meeting to address some potential litigation issues. Emergency services, report from emergency services. I see that we have the chief is here.
Good evening. Tinicum Township Police Department reported 189 incident reports for the month of March. 49 were for service, 33 were crime or investigative, including 1 fraud report. 90 were for traffic, 7 were for court, and 10 were for training. We had 2 reportable accidents in March. 1 was a single vehicle accident due to a vehicle failure. And the other one was a single vehicle accident due to an environmental issue. We've had an average of 1.2 reportable crashes in March over the last 5 years. We've been conducting stationary patrols on River Road over the last several months to determine the best locations to safely address speeding concerns. As a result, we've added 2 locations to conduct speed enforcement. These locations are in a trial period, and we're documenting any safety concerns and we'll make adjustments as needed. We've also secured some grant funding to address aggressive driving in Tinicum, and we are primarily focusing on River Road. We also have the spring drug take back scheduled for April 22nd from 10 to 2 at Warings. That's it.
Thank you, Chief.
So, Chief, I have a couple questions. So what was the environmental issue that caused the 1 car accident?
I believe it was a deer.
Okay. And then when did you start doing the trial sessions for
Over the
speed
winter,
enforcement?
just kind of down there monitoring things.
Okay. And can you tell us more about the grant funding that you secured?
It's funding through the state that they give. We get it through the county. We just kind of request funding when they have these waves. So right now it's an aggressive driving wave.
Okay. So what does it mean that we have grant funding?
We have an allotted amount of money for the officers to come in for overtime and conduct aggressive driving details.
Okay. How long will the grant funding last in terms of speed enforcement
This one is a month long. This is the long one.
for the month of April?
It was March into April.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, if he has a question.
Sure. Hit your mic, hit your mic. Sign in and hit the mic. Yep.
I just want to take a moment to thank Eleanor, thank Jim, thank Richard, thank our police chief for hearing our pleas for great enforcement along River Road. And I really commend you for doing it. I wish our reporter was here tonight so it would make it into the Buck County Herald News, because I really commend you and the community appreciates it greatly. Certainly, and once again, I'll say you can use my driveway if you would like to be able to do that. But thank you again. We really do appreciate that. In fact, I've seen the police cars there a number of times in that little pull-out area there, and I hope you're getting them. And I understand you're making like almost $200 on a ticket that goes out, which is to be commended. Oh, no, I thought that was what I was told. Maybe up to. Okay, okay, good. And how much of that stays in the township after you do get those costs?
Very minimal.
Minimal? That's
Like
all? Where does
$7.
When you go back to the state, it goes back to the state?
And accounting.
We have to start a protest on that. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. But thank you again. I appreciate that.
So just a note on that, because of the radar enforcement, one of probably the main reasons that continues not to pass in the state is because of wives' tales like that, you know, traffic enforcement is a moneymaker for the places where they do it. It is not. It probably costs us money to send officers to go to court to go and, you know, continue to show up for court when they write tickets. So you know, it really is for public safety. It actually costs, you know, it's part of the cost of having a police force. So
Do you know what's holding up the passage of that kind of legislation to be able to use radar?
that came from Representative Labs, who said that that's, you know, because we met with her last month or something. She came in to ask, you know, what the township was looking for, and that was one of which we asked to try to push, and that was one of the reasons that she gave that's been impasse in the past of some antiquated ideas of what, you know, policing, you know, for traffic does. And
Sounds like cause to that.
yep.
So thank you, Jen.
All right, moving on to update for the headquarters road bridge. So we do have a little bit of an update. There was a recent letter that we had received, can I borrow? From PennDOT. This is something, this is for the Delaware River Keepers versus NPS, I guess, Steve, National Park Service. Okay. In this case, it is basically states that they are giving the township a deadline to take over the bridge of September or June 30th to have a resolution to take over the bridge, at which time they would potentially maybe not accept us taking over the bridge. This is in relation to one specific case that is going on related to the bridge that we are not a party to, but are part of the negotiations. So we are in receipt of this, and you know, to date, we still don't know exactly when the grant funding is going to be awarded. We try to find out when they award that monies. We don't know as of yet. Terry's been on top of that, but we don't have an idea. And obviously we can't accept the bridge without having the money. But in lieu of that, we are still proceeding forward with the investigations of the temporary bridge and the potential for a rebuild. You know, even though this has come down. So we're continuing as is, and we'll see what transpires from this, but that is part of a lawsuit that is currently between the River Keepers and the Park Service related to the bridge at the moment. And also as an update, I guess at the last meeting, we had talked about Griffin for the grant funding. Griffin Engineering, we were trying to get an update of an estimate that they had done for the original bridge back in the day. We still did not receive that, but we did request an update on the grant to $4.5 million, just to try to cover the roadway that we know would be part of that project if it were to come to be. I guess we are going to continue to ask, or I guess, do we want to continue to ask Griffin to give us an update, being that we're probably sort of past the time frame that it would be useful for the grant, but maybe it'd be useful in the future.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I
Okay.
think it is useful.
No, go ahead.
That study was going to be funded by a donor. And so would you like me to reach out to that donor first, as it didn't make the grant application deadline?
Well-
Make sure that would
No,
still be.
They agreed to it originally, but now because it didn't meet the deadline, do they want to continue to support it?
Yes.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that'd be fair. It's, you know, make sure, you know, we're spending donation money wisely.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on the bridge update? I'm sure there are.
Yeah, Catherine Auerbach Center Road. Thank you for all your work in getting the application in and looking at all the options. I kind of remember that you were discussing this before the idea of that grant ever showed up. And so I would encourage you to continue pursuing the necessary work to take the bridge back, not necessarily hinging on that one grant. There might be other funding sources, and there have been pledges and things like that that have been put forward when and if the township takes the bridge, so that it doesn't necessarily have to hang on just that one grant as an acceptance of the bridge taking back. I think taking the bridge, moving forward, getting something done, getting an end to this issue and getting people over the creek is going to be a better goal than waiting for that grant, even though that grant would be a big boost to facilitating the,
I agree, but as of right now, that is the only way the bridge gets built. So we need money. So if anyone, again, the grant is our current, monetary opportunity. So we're going after that. I think the board has stated in the past and probably, I would think that we continue to state that we can't, until we have the money in hand, we cannot take ownership of, the bridge unless, I think we have the potential for a temporary bridge. If that solution would come up to be something that's viable, I think that would be a different, option, but we are still investigating that. So currently at this point today, we are investigating both, but for the purpose of building the bridge and taking it back, we still need the money to do either option, to be able to make that position. So the grant is just our current one. Obviously, we're always open to donations, other ideas, other grants, bags of money,
so.
you know.
I mean, people don't want to give money until you own the bridge.
That's,
So you need to have some kind of commitment or some kind of way to facilitate pledges in such a way that gives you the confidence to take the bridge and then go forward with it.
can
It's
you
kind
buy,
of a catch-22. You're not going to get volunteers if you're getting a $4 million grant, or if you're not going to take the bridge, So I think you need to figure out a good method that people can legitimately commit to offering that to augment a grant money or whatever, or if the grant comes through, they don't have to.
I think the board has said in the past, if we get the money, we would be using it for that purpose. We can't, the township can't accept an unusable bridge without having the money to financially to back.
But
it.
it's the method of showing that you have the money, people.
Can you buy a car that way?
But it's not the same thing.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. And I think you can get a loan, or you can get.
But if I understand your point, Kathy, what you're saying is the board and the township shouldn't be just waiting for the decision on this one grant application that has been submitted to date. That we should continue, looking at what else might be available in terms of funding opportunities. And I believe,
We've been trying.
we're doing that. One of the things that will better position the township to explore other possibilities is when the feasibility studies come back that show us that a rehabilitated bridge can actually be done, and here's how it would happen. Then we would have something in hand to explore other funding opportunities. But really, until that's done, it would be hard to put together a competitive grant application. So the grant application that was submitted was an appropriations grant, not a competitive one.
Right,
So
right. I understand. I guess you're missing my point a little bit, that if you could set up some method of pledge commitment that individuals may be able to pledge donations, or, other entities could pledge donations, knowing, and then when you decide to take the bridge, then they would come through. It's sort of.
Yeah, well, I think.
A method of doing that. They're not going to just write a check to Tinicum.
Yeah.
And then you go, I guess what, we're not going to take the bridge. Well, then where's my money back?
Yeah, well, I think agreed, until we could get to the point where we actually know what that would cost, which is part of the feasibility study. And we've also had, we've had the commitment, to do the investigations. We've had donations to do that. And we have, if that comes out that a temporary bridge is a feasible option, there has been the potential of a donation to cover those costs to get that in place, which if all that comes to be, then we will be talking about that at that time. But until the feasibility studies are done, we know if that can or cannot happen. We can't really move forward with anything. But like I said, we applied for the grant because it was something that came up, has the potential to get us the money that we need. And, we're continuing to move forward. And if we could get to a point where we could start asking for donations, if that would be an avenue that would be able to be worked out and feasible, we would obviously, try to do everything we can to get there.
So that has to happen before June 30th.
This is related to a specific lawsuit that actually the township is not involved in. But we are mentioned in some of the negotiations that have been going on. That's just what's in the letter. We're just reporting on what it is. I don't necessarily think that, personal standpoint, I don't necessarily think that that is a hard commitment. If PennDOT ends up in an impasse like they have been in the past and they can't move forward and we would end up with the opportunity to have the money and know the design is there, I can't foresee them saying no to an offer of taking it back at that point. But as of right now, that's what the letter states. So. Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim Cashman, Tinicum. Question I have is, the donation, the person made a donation or the company, who is that? Are we allowed to know who that is?
It was the Wood Tiger Fund. Yes.
Okay. And then in the process right now, PennDOT is still moving forward, I guess. Do you guys have any updates on that from PennDOT? Where they're at?
I mean, they have, last year they issued a contract. They have not issued a notice to proceed to that contractor to move forward.
Okay. Reason being?
Lawsuits.
Okay. All right. So you have not heard from them or there's no updates. You guys reached out to them at all?
Other than getting our response back here, we have no official, they're moving forward at any date at this point.
Okay. So with the updates that are happening now for the funding, you guys are working on that end. You're not working on the end of contacting PennDOT or reaching out to any of those groups that are involved?
We asked Steve to stay on top of being updated with the continued lawsuits, but being that we're not necessarily party to any of them, we're only privy to what they'll share with us, not by what we request.
Makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Steve.
Steve Gidamall. Refer to myself as the bridge keeper. So a couple points, and even to Tim's point. Let me see here. Okay, first, I fully support the path you guys are on, and you know that I've said that publicly. My land would be available for the easements and conveyance, either temporary or permanent, as I said. Again, we'd have to work through details, but fully committed to the temporary bridge and the rehabilitation of the existing bridge. A second point, just for your consideration, because I think this dovetails Kathy's point, which is you should plan for some alternatives. And I agree with you, Jim, that the June 30th deadline may or may not be a hard deadline. I mean, there are some events that may be coming soon that might make that a different, make a more extended deadline. I personally think that the budget to do a 2-lane bridge that Grace has signed on to, my own personal opinion, has dramatically increased. And they're not telling the public that yet because it would probably kill the bridge, the 2-lane bridge proposal, period. I believe that Grace is not prepared to go forward at today's cost and budget. Again, my own personal opinion, but I think if I was the CEO of Grace, that's what my position would be. I think they would be out of their minds to accept the bid that they had to move forward because it's going to be a much more extenuated process. The other point related to that is that we're in 2 separate courts making the contention that we actually own the bridge, because there's, and this is an interesting point for people to consider, is that there's really 3 logical parties that can own the bridge. The most logical, by the way, is the county that should own the bridge. And they have said publicly in court filings that they do not own the bridge. That's a matter of legal record at this point. The other most logical party to own the bridge is Tinicum. You guys, we can't seem to get you guys to own the bridge, even though everyone would be happy to have you guys own it, including myself. So that's the second point. Let's put the party that does not own the bridge for sure is PennDOT, because they're not in the business of owning bridges. And we've actually challenged them in some court filings to prove that they own it. And they have not produced any hard evidence that they own it. That leaves the third possibility of who owns the bridge, and there's a statute a couple of people in this room know that says if a bridge is banned for 10 years, it reverts back to the landowner, which would be me. And I have my hand raised up saying we will take the bridge. I would also say for everyone's benefit is that we're working that if we do get the bridge, we would put into some sort of municipal corp or something like that, something like you see with a stadium or something like that, where it'd be owned as a sort of a not-for-profit corporation. And we put it in there and immediately raise the funds to do a renovation of the bridge. And if you guys would agree and get PennDOT to agree to let us create that corporation, we can move forward with that. So that's something you should consider. And I want to, maybe that's really why I stood up, so put that out there. But I do think that the idea that PennDOT actually owns this bridge is a big risk. I mean, I think there's a 10% chance that they're in a position really to hand it over to you without challenges. But if it was unchallenged, there's no risk anything, right? If it is challenged, I don't think they own it, and therefore they can't give it. But again, I support you guys taking it, so you should just factor that into your thinking, and so we can get this resolved. And of course, on the temporary bridge, we fully support that.
Steve, just a quick question. If you do have a proposal of that nature with regards to, some joint corporation or whatnot, you do have some potential donors that would be serious about coming and talking about that in, a real fashion. We'd obviously be interested in talking to you about that, because that would be another avenue for, potential ownership. So
Okay, that's very.
if you have a group of
constructive.
people that want to come down, sit down and come up with that idea, we could try to hash out and see if it's something that the township would be willing to,
That sounds very, and particularly if it could even become more of a potential idea if it was matched up with some of the grant money that you guys could come up with. I don't know that grant money would obviate the ability to put it into a private corporation. So maybe the two could work together, but even if it doesn't, I would think that we could raise the money for a private corporation that would remain private and be a nonprofit. And
like I said, we're open to any option. So if you have, some hard, people that want to get involved in that and come and talk to us about, some real donations and some real opportunity, then,
let's see where we are a month from now, because I think some things are about to change.
thanks. Anybody else? All right, moving forward, new business, volunteer board appointments. Caroline Kell, am I correct? Came in before the meeting and we interviewed her. She's looking to be part of the Park and Rec Board. I would make the motion to put her on the Park and Rec.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bucks County Health Department mosquito control. I'm assuming they'll be doing their yearly spraying.
Yeah, and I just need you to authorize me to send the annual letter.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tinicum Earth Day Fair will be on April 22nd, 10 to 2. We have some consideration for additional vendors.
I can,
Cindy, who's doing a wonderful job organizing this, could not be here. The two vendors.
Don't touch me again. Got that, buddy? You don't look up and tap me in the back.
just pending the back.
You don't touch me. You don't touch me. Got it? Just don't do that. Don't who you think you are. You know you threatened me. You know you threatened me.
All right, come on.
Steve, put your jacket in.
Anytime.
That's okay.
Anytime.
I don't talk.
My door's always open. I have a one-on-one with you.
Anytime. Everybody see that?
We're back to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry for the interruption, everybody. Back to Tinicum Earth Day Fair.
Yes.
Two vendors.
two vendors. We have the opportunity to have a local resident who makes birdhouses. Would like to join there, and that it's not a business, it's just one of our residents that makes lovely birdhouses. And also, Eric Boynton, who does clay art, nature inspired. In fact, he uses a lot of Tinicum photos to do his art. So just looking for your approval for those two additional vendors for the Earth Day event.
We'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else for that? We just got our, everyone, make sure you stop by April 22nd, at 10 to 2.
And if you forget, there's a notice right on our main page. So if you forget, you can go there. Don't miss Earth Day.
We also have a park beautification day just prior, 9 a.m. To noon on April 15th. I guess our park and recs in the EAC, possibly a group of other people. If anyone wants to come up and help clean up the park, I guess Eleanor will go into a little bit more detail about what else is going to be going on.
So among the projects, oh, wow, no, please, Jerry, you're here, come on up. The Chair of Park and Rec is here tonight and he will fill us in.
Terry Johnston, Tinicum. Um, 15th of April, Saturday, we're going to have an event at the community park behind Cooper Mechanical. Hoping to kind of just do a beautification, clean up, get the brush and stuff out of there. We're going to do a small planting underneath the park sign, do some paint. So we're hoping to have some volunteers come forward. The Parks and Rec Committee will obviously be there. Would love some community involvement, obviously, as well as the Earth Day event. And hoping to continue that involvement into some other events that we have planned for later in the year. So yeah, bring your rakes and good energy, because just a couple hours we should have everything cleaned up. So
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Terry.
On to regular business, the minutes from March 21st, 2023. Just let you guys.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The treasurer's report and budget recap. Next meeting, we'll have that. I will make a motion to approve the payroll ending March 24th, 2023 in the amount of $41,107.13. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Disbursements. Take a minute to take a look through those. Anyone have any questions?
I don't.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public Works, will have seal coat bids will be awarded on April 18th, meeting of the board. Those bids already come in, or with it?
Be publicly opened. It's all advertised at 10 a.m. that day.
Okay.
And then Doug and I will review them and give you an easy to follow spreadsheet, but we have to make sure, we try to make sure the bid bond, everything is there for you before we.
Yep. All right. So if anyone's out there, put your bid in. Nothing on zoning at the moment. Subdivision and land development. We are currently scheduled for next meeting, April 18th, 2023, to look at the land development and conditional use of Tretton's. If nothing else happens before then, we will also be looking at SD 2023-1, a minor subdivision of Luck. The Planning Commission reviewed this on February 28th. And we are at public comment. Any additional comments on anything that wasn't on the agenda? Kathy?
Catherine Auerbach, Center Road. Do you have any information on Creamy Road Bridge? The Creamy Road Bridge? There was a sign saying it was
Terry, do
closed
you have any
last
information?
week.
Yes, they were repairing that is what they told us. Most of the detouring is in, Bedminster. I'm sorry. We got notice that they were doing a repair of that bridge. It's not, there's two bridges over that way. So they're repairing a bridge on Creamery and they have a minor detour in Tinicum. Most of the detours are through Bedminster Township. But that's all we know about it.
Is it the bridge over the Tohican Creek?
We looked at it. It's not the bridge that was in contention about being rebuilt. I would have to, Doug helped me with the map. I don't want to misspeak. They're repairing a bridge on Creamery. It's not a knockdown rebuild as far as I know or
Okay.
anything.
And who's doing that? I'm sorry.
PennDOT.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing nothing? I'll, oh, Tim.
Tim Cashman. I want to make sure you guys know who you're dealing with. That's the second incident I had with that gentleman. To team up with someone like that, I would recommend that you really look into what you're doing. There's no need for those incidences in the public for someone to come up and do what he did. You guys seen it all, it wasn't on camera, but I want you to be aware. It won't be the last with a gentleman like that.
Thanks, Tim. Do we have anything to finish with executive, Terry? I think we got through everything. Correct.
Minor issue, yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll recess for final executive item, and then we'll come back and close the meeting after that. If anyone wants to stick around, you can. It should be quick.
Transparency. What I have for them is nothing that's gonna require them to vote on anything or anything like that. And when we break for executive and I try to stop this, I run the risk of losing the regular meeting. So we may or may not come back online because I'm not looking for action from the board.
Sounds like a reasonable explanation.
Rick sent us a really useful link to PennDOT. We put it on the main page. It's a questionnaire. PennDOT wants to know how you feel. It's only till the end of the month. So, if you, and anyone out there, if you want to go on and take the survey with PennDOT, Rick, thank you. We put that link on our main page.
It's an excellent website. I actually used it. It was great. It really was.
I love getting it.
They're at Mr. Stevens.
Yeah.
Actually survey. I've never seen one
Right.
like
It
that.
was good.
That's great. Thank you, sir.
So now you can do executive.
Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, I got to post that on the